Hello everybody. This is a little look at an SBC inside an Amiga 1500 or 1500 if you're that way inclined. And what is an SBC, you may ask? And an SBC is that card there, which is connected to the 16-bit ISA slots in this motherboard. Well, in actual fact, it's connected to the 8-bit slots in this particular case, as the card is shown there. Is a 16-bit ISA with the PCI connector at the back, and the PCI connector will land directly into the Zorro slot, so I can't have that. So you can either cut the PCI off, which I don't want to do particularly, or you connect it to the 8-bit. I'll try and show you. You can see there the one 8-bit slot. The unsoldered connector there is a 16-bit slot, 2 8s to 16. And if you look at this side of the board, that is the Amiga Zorro slot, and that one there you can just see is the 16-bit, and further on will be the 8-bit. So the card, oh, wrong way. The card there is running in the 8-bit port at the moment, 8-bit slot. I will solder in a socket to make it 16-bit, but I haven't got one, I haven't done it yet. I'll do it at a later date. So what is it and what does it do? Well, an SBC is a single board computer, and what they are usually is a 386 or 486 class Intel CPU, or AMD sometimes. This particular one is an Intel Pentium 3, 850 MHz with 1 GB of RAM. It has a SCSI controller on board, 2 IDE, LAN, and OpenGL VGA, which means it's quite a powerful little card. It is, what would that be? That would probably be a year 2000 era sort of desktop PC, I suppose. I think I had a 1000 MHz. No, I didn't. I had a 950 in the year 2000. Never quite made it to 1000 MHz. So it's on or around the year 2000. The Amiga 1000 it's plugged into, the other end of the scale, is an 8 MHz Motorola 6800 based at the moment, with a SCSI card and a RAM card. So if you plug in an SBC and turn the Amiga on, what does it do? Well, if you're very unlucky, it won't do anything. If you're really unlucky, it will make funny noises and go bang. But what it should do is power the card up if it takes its power from the 8-bit slot. Some cards have an external Molex connector, like on the back of your CD player or your DVD drive or your hard drive, a little 4-pin thing. This one takes its power from the 8-bit port. Yeah, it takes its power from the 8-bit port. It also has a Sound Blaster 16 plugged in to the side of it to give it audio. I did wonder whether the SBC, rather than the bridge card, would give the Amiga the sound capability of a Sound Blaster, but it does. I was a little concerned that only a bridge card by Commodore, or the other one, gold, and blah blah blah, gold, oh, whatever. But no, it works perfectly, and I will turn it on and show you. Fine. The only downside to this is that the Amiga is running. You can hear the floppy ticking. So the Amiga side is booted up and is waiting. The PC side is booting up as well. The battery's flat, the Dallas clock is dead, so I'm going to strip out the Dallas clock and repair it. I haven't done that yet, obviously. So you can see it's an 850 MHz, it's a Oh, it's booted up too quick, but it's an Intel 440BX chipset, I think. Yeah. I've disabled Windows 95, but it will try to boot. It's running from a CF into a DOS shell, which you can see here. Not as pretty as the Amiga, I must admit, but my plan is to make PC and the Amiga side input devices work from the same port if I can, i.e. keyboard and mouse, or at the very least keyboard. I think a mouse might not be possible, but what can we show you? Oh, I'll plug the sound in. Unfortunately it needs speakers, which are further pain. No actual shotgun noises, so the sound can't be configured properly, but the MIDI is working. Anyway, everybody else knows what Doom looks like. It's not very impressive. So if I quit this, it should boot straight back into the DOS shell, which it does. Now, one of the problems with running such a fast and relatively modern SBC is that some early DOS programs have a problem on CPUs that run faster than 200 MHz. Now, this is a bug in the compiler in which these programs were made, whether it be, what were they? Borland or what's the other? Oh, I forget. But when these programs were made originally, there was a bug in the program which weren't found because everybody's using 386, 486 at the time. But as the CPUs increased, you find they didn't like it. I don't have a mouse plugged in at the moment, but what I can do, no I can't, what I can do, which is a bit of fun, I can emulate the Amiga faster in DOS than the Amiga runs natively at the moment. But let me quit this. Escape exit. I haven't configured anything. I only set this thing up yesterday, so there's nothing set up really. Do you want to continue anyway? I didn't hear what the question was. People of a certain age, this will bring back memories, I'm sure. So yeah, what can it do? Basically, it's an independent PC running inside the Amiga. It cannot communicate with the Amiga like the Janus software on the bridge boards that Commodore produced, and Golden Gate. There is no Janus software, so I can't get the PC to talk to the Amiga. I can't get the Amiga, so I can't swap files. Although I don't want to anyway, to be honest, it's a complete waste of time. I could, because the PC card has LAN on it, I could use a Windows 95 web browser, or even Windows 98 web browser, to download files. And I could use the serial port RS-232 to connect to the Amiga serial port, and I could transfer files from one to another with them both running at the same time. I will probably do that for no other reason than I can. But at the moment, I haven't, and I didn't, and I don't. So this is an SBC. Oh, that's going a bit funny. two little issues with video and things, but the sound works. I don't know how to get out of it. Actually, I'll reboot this so we can possibly see what the card is. It is a socket 370 SBC system. It's a 620B1E. It's an Intel 440BX. Okay. Oh, that's alright, it's stopped now. So you can see what it is. The CMOS has failed because the battery's dead. It's a Dallas battery. They're a bugger of a thing to get nowadays. I might cut it open and solder a new battery in, or I might just get a replacement one. I might have one in a Commodore PC actually. And that's failed because the power pack's died, I think. But that's something else. So that is an SBC. I could look at the Commodore cards. Commodore made their own SBCs, if you like, which they call bridge boards, and they go right back to the Amiga 1000. That had a PC sidecar that plugged inside. I think it was an 8088 or 8086. I can't remember now. And it was purely to run Word, DOS Word, and various things like that. And its era, 1986, 85. And then they did a 286 card. They did an 8086, I think, that plugged into the Zorro of the Amiga 2000. Then they did a 286. The last one they made was a 386, which was also for a 2000. It fitted in the 3 and the 4, obviously. They never made a 486 card because the 486s were becoming popular. The prices came down in the late 80s. By the time of the late 80s, Commodore were in serious financial trouble, really, and they'd pretty much given up with PC emulation, I think. Well, it's not really emulation, but they'd given up with the PC side of things. Even the PC business that they had was a disaster. There's a funny story that Commodore wanted to be an all-in-one company that could supply the Amigas and PCs to a company that required them, which is all well and good, until Commodore themselves needed a PC for some reason, and they couldn't get, I think the new 386s, whatever speed they were, they couldn't get them from their suppliers. So they went out to purchase them from a local supplier, warehouse, whatever, and it was actually cheaper to buy them from a local warehouse than it was for Commodore to produce them. So they realised they were in a complete dead loss. But I'll show you some of the games that they come up with. It's a runtime error 200, I think, which is the bug in the CPU. What does it? I think Wolf does it. There's a couple on here that do it, but I can't remember what they are now. What is it? Yeah. No, it's not. Is it that? That was probably it, but you can't see it because the thing's gone off. Let's quit this. Fatal can't initialize loader. Linux, oh, it's not that. But yeah, where it comes up with, it says runtime 200 error. I forget which game it is now. I'll start the menu again. Oh, for God's sake. Oh. Oh God, it's been a long time since I've been in DOS. All I did there was run the autoexec bat, which has got a link to it to start the DOS shell. It's not that, it's not that. Chasm. What does Chasm do? Well, there you go. Unhandled exception. Is that the runtime error? That might be a different error. Terminate current process. Terminate all. T terminate. Terminate all. Error. Oh well, it's not that, but that is obviously that's another error. But anyway, it's not a problem because all I'll do is I'll run I'll set up Windows 95 at some point when I get a mouse sorted out and run the Windows 95 versions of these programs, or the programs that I want to run anyway. So that's not an issue. If you wanted, my advice to anybody who wanted to put an SBC in Amiga would be run a slower one. Any 486, any 386. If you want to play games, a fast 486 or a slow Pentium will cover all of the DOS era pretty much. Pentium 166, and you can run almost anything. You don't really need this. I got this card because it had a LAN port on it, it had the SCSI port on it, which I'll probably never use, and it was cheap. Program. Oh, what it does is when it crashes, it uses all the memory. Yeah, 67k of memory. Yeah, if you wanted to put an SBC in and play the really old DOS stuff, I would say a slow Pentium, and you can run practically everything. You don't need a card as fast as this one. But I will probably run Windows. I might even run Linux or OS2 Warp, just for a bit of fun really. Windows NT. There was a rumour that the Amigas were going to run Windows NT anyway, as Amiga OS was seen as a pretty dead end by Commodore even in the late 90s. But anyway, this is an SBC, or that is an SBC. I could turn it off and take it out, I think. I don't think it's screwed in. Let's have a look. Is it screwed in? No, it's not. So I'll turn the machine off and plug the power from the CF card. It's a bit of a good fit because the CF card's there. Let's get this out of the way. What I usually do is drop the screw. Yep, there you go. So that's the CF card it's booting from. I'll put it that way so you can see it. So, as you can see, we have an Intel Pentium. Go back a bit. We have a gigabyte of RAM. Don't know what it is, DDR1 or 2. We have an Adaptec SCSI controller chip. PCI there, as you can see. ISA 16, ISA 8-bit. Intel chipset. We have IDE port 2, IDE port 1 with the cable on. There's a SCSI controller above that. Floppy there, or floppy at the end. The other one is a bit for serial. Don't know what the edge connectors are for. The Dallas chip, I need to look at that. W283-2Y. Or an battery real-time clock lithium. I need to pull that apart really. But anyway, that is the SBC, and that is running Amiga. I will bolt it all back together and do a better video later. Thanks.